Okay, guys. I like to film this is my second video of characters I like. Okay, so for this one, I would like to talk about Tyrion Lannister from A Song of Ice and Fire, or as some people know it, A Game of Thrones. Tyrion, I have a lot to say about Tyrion Lannister. He is definitely one of the he's my favorite character in the story. Next to a few other characters like Arya and Sansa. As far as villains go, I think Cersei's the best villain. Dany, yes, I like Dany. I know that a lot of people have a problem if you like Dany because she's like so perfect and awesome to some people, in a negative way, in like an annoying kind of way. But she's one of my favorites, and so was Arya. But I also love Sansa. And I love Cersei too. But I like Jon, but Tyrion is my favorite male character. And like I said, that's who I want to talk about for this video. In case you don't remember, I am doing a series of videos where I talk about the positives and negatives about my favorite characters. I think for after this one, the next one, I will talk about one of my favorite female characters. So that will be a surprise for the next one. Okay. So Tyrion, what could I say about Tyrion Lannister? Well, for one thing, he may not be a warrior like his brother Jaime, like a fighter or anything, but what he lacks in fighting skills, he makes up for in wit. He is very intelligent. He's very good at playing the Game of Thrones. He's very political savvy. Although there are times when he's not the smartest person in the room, like that is debatable when it comes to Littlefinger and Lord Varys. But if you watch the last season, then that unfortunately was a bad, went kind of sour for him. Now, of course, if you watch it, that was partly, in a practical sense, that was partly Jon's fault. But then Tyrion didn't anticipate his sister's react. I mean, he knew how his sister would react to Jon's honesty, but he doesn't know what she would, that she would pretend to be friends with, to join them on their side. Well, anyway, okay, I'm better stop talking about that because I might spoil it for those of you who have not seen it. I mean, I've already spoiled it a little bit as it is. Sorry about my dog. He tends to like looking out the window. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna close that window. Sorry. I have a beagle. I mean, granted, all dogs do that. They tend to bark when they see outside and people walking by. But next to those small dogs with the yippy barks, beagles, as much as I love them, they have probably the second most annoying bark. At least I think so anyway. I mean, as much as I love them, and I've always had beagles, so I'm kind of used to it. But I think at times it can be incredibly annoying. But anyway, okay, so another thing I like another positive about Tyrion is he is very loyal. Once he chooses your side, he will stay loyal. He's very loyal to his family, but he's also loyal to those he sides with in this big war for the Iron Throne. He has a great relationship with his brother Jaime. Despite the other members of this family, he still has this good relationship with his older brother Jaime. And Jaime, and I think Jaime respects and loves his brother too. I mean, there are times I think they don't always agree, probably, but, I mean, they're brothers. They're still brothers. Let's see what else. Like, he is also being an outcast himself, because when their mom died giving birth to him, so his sister and, Cersei and their father, Tywin, blame Tyrion for the death of their mom. I don't know what the mother's name is. I'm sure it's either I could find it somewhere on the internet or it's in the book somewhere. It's, unfortunately, those are big books and there's a lot to read, so sometimes little details like that just slip past me when I'm reading. But they blame him for his mother's death. He's described as like he has a scar on his eye, but that's from one of the wars in the books. I think. And he also has a pig nose, so he's a dwarf. So that's another, his looks kind of make him an outcast too. So he really identifies with those that are considered different, like whether it's a physical thing, or if you're considered a bastard in your family. Like Tyrion is Tyrion is the biological child, but he's kind of treated like the bastard child. So he really identifies with Jon Snow. And I think that's why in the first book, which is called A Game of Thrones, when he goes to the Wall, he really, and before they both end up going to the Wall, he befriends Jon right away, or he gives him some advice. And then when he goes to the Wall while Jon's there, he kind of becomes friends with him as well, and tries to help him out and get him to understand that, yes, you are part of a noble family, but now you're at the Wall, and your background doesn't matter at the Wall. Basically giving him friendly advice. He gives Bran this contraption so that Bran can go riding on his horse again. Because Bran, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys remember, Bran saw something while he was climbing one of the towers because he loves to climb, and he kind of got pushed out the tower window, and he became a cripple. So Tyrion, decided to, like I said, give him this contraption so that he would be able to ride, because he broke his legs, so he couldn't ride anymore. So he's very compassionate and very understanding, and tries to help those who are considered different from this world. And I also think that even if it was an arranged marriage, I think he would still love you or show affection and be respectful to you and be kind to you and be compassionate if you were arranged to marry him, because so I think he would really he would make a good husband. There may not be like, I'm in love with you kind of thing. It may or may not be, but I think you could grow to love each other if you were married to him. And he would be very, like I said, he would be very respectful and very kind and compassionate. I think he could grow to love you too. Now, unfortunately, here are the negatives though. He drinks a lot. He likes drinking. Now, of course, it looks like he can hold but I'm pretty sure Tyrion can hold his liquor, but still, that's not the best habit to have. And, I mean, I don't mind drinking. It's just, if you drink all the time, then we're gonna have a little bit of a problem. And of course, there's his family. I mean, Jaime's okay. Jaime's pretty cool, I mean, he still kind of has a bit of an ego. But, again, sorry about my dog. They like to come up to my room because, like I said, there's a window right here, that they can, it gives a good, nice view of the driveway. So if people are walking by, he likes to bark at them. So, sorry about that. Okay, so, where was I? Oh, yeah, okay, I talked about the drinking. Oh, and his family, like, Jaime's okay. Jaime's not bad. I mean, he has a bit of an ego, and he was a bit of a jerk, but I think as Jaime's story progresses, he improves for the better, and becomes a good, decent guy. And you gotta and Jaime and Tyrion love each other very much, so. Then there's one, which brings me to one more positive. He would be a good friend and someone that would be good to talk to, That's another positive, that he would be a good friend, like he's a good friend, to Jon Snow, to Bronn. Like I said, he's loyal to his brother. and the cleverness. Like I always love male characters I like. They're very witty and clever. Those are my favorite. Some of my favorite traits is guys that are smart. Very intelligent and well read. That's something. He likes to read. If you like to read, that's a place in my book. Let's see. So, and there's actually, I wish I could remember. There was a quote. Let me see. I think I have the page marked where he's with the quote. Let's see if I can find it. This is one of the few times I actually marked the little stickies in there. So I might be able to find it. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, let's see. Okay, here. Here, this is I like this conversation between him and John. Here. Let's see. First, I actually have a Tyrion shirt that has this particular quote. My mind is my weapon. I have that. I have a t-shirt with that on there. Okay, so here's 14. He's talking to John, and they're traveling at the moment. I think they're traveling to the Wall. 14. You're taller than I will ever be. My legs are short and twisted. I walk with difficulty. I require a special saddle to keep from falling off my horse. A saddle of my own design. You may be interested to know. It was either that or ride a pony. My arms are strong enough, but again, too short. I will never make a swordsman. Had I been born a peasant, they might have left me out to die, or sold me to some slaver's grotesqueries. Alas, I was born a Lannister of Casterly Rock, and the grotesqueries are all the poorer. Things are expected of me. My father was the hand of the king for 20 years. My brother later killed that very same king, as it turns out. But life is full of these little ironies. My sister married the new king, and my repulsive nephew will be the king after him. I must do my part for the honor of my house. Wouldn't you agree? Yet how? Well, my legs may be too small for my body, but my head is too large, although I prefer to think it is just large enough for my mind. I have a realistic grasp of my own strengths and weaknesses. My mind is my weapon. My brother has a sword. My mind is my weapon. My brother has a sword. King. King Robert has his warhammer, and I have my mind. And a mind needs books as a sword needs a whetstone. If it is to keep its edge. I love that quote. It basically sums up who Tyrion is. That he is basically. He's not the most attractive, but his mind is his mind is what he has. It's his strength. It's one of his best traits. And it is like he said, it's his weapon. It's the one thing he's really good at. He's using his brain. And that's why he reads, because you can't, one of the ways to get smart is to read books. And not just nonfiction, I think you can also learn from fiction, like reading a book like this. I think you can learn from that too. Let's see. Like I said, okay, back to the negative. So I said his family, unfortunately, is a bit of a negative. Unfortunately, having the Lannister name makes you guilty by association. It's, the Starks, they associate Tyrion with the Lannisters, and they don't like the Lannisters. They don't trust the Lannisters. So because Tyrion is a Lannister by name, then they don't like him either. They don't trust him. They don't like him. Which kind of sucks for him, because he is a good guy. And unfortunately, Sansa, after trading her in, after Joffrey trades Sansa in for Marjorie Martell, or not Martell, Marjorie, Tyrell, they arrange Sansa to marry Tyrion. They were off to a good start. They could have had a good marriage, but then when the Lannisters worked with the what is that family's name? When the Lannisters worked with the Freys to kill her mother and older brother and all their people, that were with them, all that kind of ruined any chance of Sansa and Tyrion getting along and respect and being at least friends. Okay, and then there's also the fact that he sleeps around a lot and it just and if you are arranged to marry him, you want him to be happy and everything, but at the same time it would be kind of hard knowing that he would, unless you didn't like him at all, unless you had no affection for Tyrion, or like if you hated him or whatever. Although I think if you got to know him, I think it would be kind of hard to hate him. But like I said, the thing I just said about his family name kind of gives him the reputation that is a negative and might make you hate him. But if you actually genuinely like him, then it could potentially be bothersome if he's, if he has a woman on the side, whether, a mistress, a whore, or whatever, it would kind of suck. It would kind of hurt. Like, it could be potentially hurtful. Knowing that, unless you had someone you loved that you wanted to marry at that time, then maybe it wouldn't be so bad. It wouldn't suck, because at least the two of you could be friends and help each other out in the relationship you'd like to have. But then again, women back in a world, like Westeros is kind of based on a medieval type world, so in their world, just like in our world, especially like in medieval times, women did not have a lot of say in the matter. They couldn't have affairs and have, other men on the side, essentially. I don't know because a mistress is the female version, but what would the male version, a master? If a woman had a man on the side, would they be her master or whatever? But then that would kind of sound like he owns her. So, I don't know what the male equivalent to that would be, if there would be a term for it. Well, anyway, so that's the night. So there's a lot good, but there's some bad too about Tyrion as a character. But he's still. The one last thing that's bad is that you're talking about he is from Westeros, and unless you were in that world, that would make the relation. If you just magically met him because he got transported here, or you got transported to Westeros, which would really be dangerous and scary if you got transported somehow into Westeros. But your world's apart, so it would kind of suck, because he's in a medieval type world where you could die at a really young age, and the hygiene is not that great. They didn't have, flossing and braces, and they didn't brush their teeth and all that kind of stuff. And they ate a lot of food that wasn't necessarily good for you. They didn't know about hygiene, and they drank a lot, a lot of alcohol, and there was lots of, and it was hard to keep clean. It's hard to keep clean in that world, especially if you are lower class, like a peasant. And like he said in that quote I read to you, considering, like, with his physical features and the fact that he's not a warrior, he's not a fighter, he might have, and if he was born a peasant, he could have died. So if you don't have the skills to know how to survive, like you're not politically savvy, like you're not witty and intelligent and clever, if you're not a good fighter, if you weren't born to a noble family, then you might not survive in Westeros. So those are the things. So that's my thoughts on Tyrion as a character. There's a lot of goods and bads to his character, but just read about his character. As long as he's just reading about him in fiction, the good outweighs the bad, I feel like. Unless you're the type of person who has a hard time accepting characters, there's sometimes there's traits that people have that you just don't like, that you can't get past. Like, there's certain times where you have to draw a line on, you know, how you feel about a character. Like, so if you don't like drinking because that triggers bad memories or something, or you're just not comfortable with those kind of characters, or like if you don't like people that sleep around, characters that sleep around. I mean, not that he sleeps around, but you know, he's fallen in love quite a bit, and he, you know, okay. Let me rewind that. Okay, so yeah, he kind of does sleep around because he has love, but I think that's his way of dealing with. It's kind of his way of rebelling against his father, because you learn. This isn't not in the book, but you learn as background about the character that he got married to a woman that turned out to be a whore. Like, she was a gift from his brother. The woman was, and he married her, but it turned out to be, she turned out to be a whore, and he got in trouble with his father about that. I think he kind of rebels and sleeps around with whores a lot. Women that are, you know, their profession is sex, like they're hookers and stuff. So, but, you know, so if there are aspects of him that you might not like, you might really hate about his character, but like I said, I think though, you know, getting past all the negatives, I think and since it's also fiction, this is a work of fiction, he's not a real person. There's definitely the pros, like I said, outweigh the cons about his character. Okay, so that was my next video. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you that I think the next character I will do will be Scarlet O'Hara from Gone with the Wind, because she is one of my favorite female characters. Classic female characters. Next to Belle, of course. And I will eventually probably talk about her as well. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed, and bye!